Saturday, March 24th, 1984. 5 students walked into detention. But by the end of the day, they've become a myth. This is Archetypes of Success. And today we are decoding The Breakfast Club, one of the most enduring ensemble films of the 1980s. But before we dive into The Breakfast Club and why those 5 teenagers still speak to us decades later, let's talk archetypes. Swiss psychoanalyst Carl Jung believed that all humans share access to a deep collective unconscious, an inner library of symbols, stories, and characters that show up again and again across time and culture. He called these recurring characters archetypes: the hero, the rebel, the caregiver, the sage. We don't just see them in books or films, we become them, we recognize them, and sometimes we resist them. In storytelling, archetypes help us identify roles quickly, but in real life, they help us understand ourselves. They reveal how we cope, how we connect, and how we carry our wounds. That's why the Breakfast Club endures. It doesn't just give us a brain, an athlete, a basket case, a princess, and a criminal. It gives us 5 people in the middle of becoming, caught between who the world says they are and who they're still figuring out they could be. That's the magic of archetypes. They don't lock us in. They give us a place to begin. He wants to be good, desperately. Brian's archetype is the innocent, the one who believes that if he just follows the rules, he'll be safe. But the Breakfast Club reveals the danger of that belief, how it turns pressure inward, how it leads Brian to contemplate ending his life over a failing grade. His vulnerability makes him the heart of the group, his honesty, their turning point. The innocent isn't naive. He's brave enough to admit he's hurting. He's the wrestler, the golden boy, the son trying to live up to his father's idea of masculinity. Andrew is the hero, but not in victory, in conflict. His journey is about realizing that dominance isn't strength and empathy isn't weakness. The moment he weeps over what he did to another boy, that's his real sport. In a world that told him to perform toughness, Andrew begins to practice truth. The hero doesn't always win. Sometimes he just grows. She doesn't want your attention. She wants space to be undefined. Allison is the explorer, the archetype in search of self, not status. She arrives cloaked in black, avoiding eye contact, smushing Captain Crunch into Wonder Bread like she's creating a magical portal into her real self. She isn't rebelling, she's wandering, testing, feeling the edges of the social map. Her temporary transformation into a pretty girl was never the destination, just a layover. Because the explorer always circles back to where she began. Only this time, she'll know why she's choosing it. She's the princess, but she's also the pressure point. Claire is the lover archetype, navigating beauty, expectation, and the fear of being alone. She's more than her privilege. She's aching underneath it. What makes her archetype so real is her contradiction: distant and generous, guarded and confessional. Claire teaches us that the lover isn't about romance. It's about the longing to be chosen for who you really are, not who people think you should be. The cigarette, the boots, the scars. Bender is the rebel, not just because he fights authority, but because he's been burned by it. He carries trauma in sarcasm, anger in performance. But the rebel's role is to provoke, to call out hypocrisy, to challenge comfort, to rupture what's fake. He's not always safe and not always right. But when Bender raises his fist at the end, it's not victory. That's survival. The rebel remains standing, bruised, but seen. The Breakfast Club gave us a portrait of adolescence wrapped in archetype. 5 characters trapped by labels who begin to rewrite them together. It was never subtle. It wasn't meant to be, but it spoke loudly to a generation that didn't feel seen. Kids told to be quiet, be successful, be normal. And yet, as we reflect back from today, we also see what and who got left out. Most of John Hughes' teens were white, middle class, and straight. There are no Black students in this detention, no queer kids, no immigrants, no disabled teens, no one poor enough to worry about lunch. It was a truth, not the truth. Still, the archetypes endure because everyone, regardless of background, knows what it feels like to be labeled, to be dismissed, to sit in a quiet room and wonder if you'll ever belong. That's the real story underneath the Saturday detention myth. That's why the Breakfast Club still echoes. So, who were you in that circle of five? And who are you now? Drop your archetype into the comments. If this is your first time here, welcome to Archetypes of Success. We don't just talk about icons, we decode what they reveal. Because the labels, they eventually fade, but the pattern remains.